Hi, Trenton from Classic Rides, Arizona. Today we're working on our 1984 Chevy Blazer, and we are upgrading the power windows with this kit from Nu-Relics. This Blazer has factory power windows, but they are crusty and slow as molasses, so we're going to take everything out and replace it. But Nu-Relics also does make kits for if you have original manual windows, and they look really sweet. They keep that classic styling, but give you that modern performance and functionality. So let's dive into it. We're going to show you what you need to know, some tips and tricks to learn along the way, and our review when we're all done. The first thing that we did is we laid out all the pieces that came in the box to make sure everything's there. You have your right side regulator and motor, your left side conduit for running the wires through the door, switches, which look very nice, and the wiring harness, which is all labeled. Our Blazer is an original power window, power lock vehicle, so we're not going to use this conduit. We'll use the original conduit. Before we did anything else, we hooked up all the wiring to the regulators and used some jumper cables to bench test it to the battery to make sure that everything worked as advertised before we start taking things apart. And everything, of course, did. It came out of the box perfect. First thing you'll need to do is remove the door panel, which we have already done. You'll also need to remove the kick panel so you can access the wiring harness and run the wires through the door jamb. You'll need to disconnect the door handle and this bracket here to have better access. And then what you're going to do is loosen the Blazer has 3 bolts here, 1, 2, 3, that hold the regulator in place. You can loosen that, and that'll make it a little easier to reach inside and unplug the connector on the regulator. You will need to do something to hold the window up here. You can either have an assistant hold the window up, or what we did and worked fairly well is we just stuffed some fuel line or vacuum line inside the channel there, and that gave it enough friction to hold the glass up while we removed the regulator. Once you have everything disassembled and the old crusty regulator out, it's time to do the wiring. So what you want to do here is remove the individual wires from the connector, and the instructions will have detailed pictures on how to do that. And then what we did is we fed the wires through this grommet, and we taped each wire one at a time to one of the existing wires, the power wire that was already in there. And then by simply pulling the wire through this hole, it'll feed these wires through back into the door panel. Wiring everything back up is basically pretty straightforward. All you have is a hot wire and a ground wire that you have to connect. Everything else is self-contained in the harness. Take special care when you reconnect these plugs, since you have to take all these individual wires out. Make sure you get them seated in properly, or you're not going to have power back out. Now, the other thing we recommend before you get your door panels back on, before you get everything all buttoned up, what you want to do is test the operation of both windows. And what you might find, what we found, is that on our passenger window, when you hit the switch to go up, the window goes down, and vice versa. What you have to do is take this connector off of the motor, and you'll just reverse the wires. It's a little bit tricky getting them out. You gotta flip this cap out here, and then if you can see, there's little notches right in there. You have to stick a wire in, kind of push and pull the wires a little bit. You can pop them right out, reverse the polarity, plug it back into your motor, and everything should work just fine. Once you have the basic wiring set up and pulled through the door, it's time to put the regulator back in. You'll need to squeeze it through this access hole and get the rollers in the tracks first. And then this part's a little bit tricky, getting the 4 bolts in for the regulator. So what we did is we put 1 or 2 bolts, whatever you can get in, then we plugged in the connector so we could work the toggle switch to move the window up and down, which gives you a little bit of pivot right here, and then you're able to get the rest of the bolts in. You might need to do just a little bit of drilling out on these holes to get all 4 bolts in. Alright, so with that, we're pretty much ready to wrap things up. We just need to finish routing the wiring harness up underneath the dash and finish securing the door panels and kick panels back on. Now for the switches here, Nu-Relics does provide these patterns, for the various size switches you might have. You can use these as a template for cutting out the hole in your door panel. Ours already had power windows, so we just needed to massage them slightly to fit the new switch, and it mounts just slightly different from the original, so we'll show you a close-up so you have what you need to know about the switches as well. So here are the switches. Here's the original and here's the Nu-Relics piece. So it keeps that original styling. It's a really nice looking piece. The only difference is the original has these spring-loaded clips for securing it to the door panel. The Nu-Relics piece has these screws, and they're slightly elongate, so you'll just need to open up the hole a little bit so you can get that flush on the door panel, and then this backing plate will hold that tight. Well, that about sums it up. As you can see, operation is night and day from the original. We're very happy with the quality of this product. It's made in America, and it's a great way to update your classic ride. Installation was straightforward overall, and it's something that could be done over a weekend by the hobbyist. We've attached some links below for our website if you're interested in a kit for your vehicle. We also have some helpful tips on doing electrical work. Please subscribe to our channel if you're interested in seeing more install videos in the future, and we thank you for watching. Now to get back to our favorite thing and go for a little drive.